get it.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Kosa. Nsila ID soto.
Ha, sa soto. Sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Ah,
mbare ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato nim fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola sota Gambia jam.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kono kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wala nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi mani domorol dir fana be teat. Gambia dawda yalo ma fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moy o diat
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e binaji.
Yalo bu kanyi la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Of owning your dream homes, EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
When we touch down, better broke down.
Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see that.
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
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 What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
to the brunch on Kerr, Fatou. I'm Lamin Cham, live here in our studios, and thank you very much wherever you are watching us from. This week, our topics are COVID-19. What is the latest situation in the Gambia? What should be done or ought to have been done, and what the future lies as the country braces herself for a second wave. We will also revisit the topic of registration of voters, as election is just 10 months away and the Electoral Commission is busy evaluating the bids of companies who are bidding to produce election materials. We will talk to our panelists about that. Should they stay or should they go? The West African troops in the Gambia, economic mission, recently have had updates in their status. They will be transformed into a police force after December. So we have all these topics, and in the studio with me to discuss them are, at the far right, Dr. Mustafa Bittaye. He is Director of Health at the Ministry of Health. Sarr is ex-army commander. He is an author and a commentator on Gambian affairs and an expert in security matters. Naneh Freda Gomez is the spokesperson for the Citizen Alliance. She's with me in the studio, as well as Demba Jawo, veteran journalist, former Minister for Information, and a commentator on Gambian affairs. So, gentlemen and lady, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Like I said, of course, we are going to start with COVID. Now, recently, over 100 or so people were, or have their names published by the Ministry of Health to be people who have either escaped or run away from being quarantined after arriving from abroad, particularly from areas that are considered as hot spots. Now, all these 100 people are either with their families or they are somewhere, but they are not at the right place where they should be. Plus, there have been cases on the rise, the UK variant, at least 3 of it, etc. There have been now a school that has been closed because of a case of COVID. What will happen to protect other schools? Now, these are the topics, these are the issues we have on the topic today. Okay, let me start with our panelists before I go to the expert in the house, Dr. Bittaye. D.A. Jawo, what do you know of late the present situation of COVID? And of course, the latest news we were told about people not wanting to be quarantined.
Well, thank you very much, Lamin. As far as I'm concerned, I think that's a very, very strange situation with regards to people who have either absconded from the, the quarantine centers, or they have not been actually, they have not abided by, the COVID protocols. I don't know how that has happened, because I thought probably if people come from abroad, the airport is the only entry point. Well, most of the time, it's through the airport or the border places they are supposed to be. And I thought probably the health authorities would have captured them there and, ensured that they actually abided by the protocols. So I cannot understand how these people have managed to, just evade the situation, honestly. I mean, it beats my imagination. And in fact, this is not the first time, because we've also heard about other situations when people who are supposed to have been quarantined or even were quarantined, and they were said to have absconded from the quarantine centers and gone away. I mean, I don't know, probably Dr. Bittaye will, enlighten us on this situation, how that has been happening.
Suggestions now? The country really should have some sort of restrictions, if not a total lockdown, given the fact that neighboring Senegal, there is a curfew. In fact, the situation is such that there is a curfew going on. Activities that are today commonplace in the Gambia, just by across the border, are unheard of in Senegal at the moment. There, the government seems to be more serious about this. And, whatever happens in Senegal happens here. Why are we not? Or don't you think we should go into some sort of restrictions?
Well, again, I mean, we should leave that to the experts to, assess the situation and tell us exactly what needs to be done. Of course, I agree. I mean, anything that happens in Senegal, very likely will happen in this country as well. I mean, although, we've seen the variation in figures. Senegal, they're having almost 300 or even over 300 per day of, in the case of the Gambia, the figures are still relatively low. Probably it's due to the,
lack of adequate testing.
Well, that could be a factor. Probably Dr. Bittaye will tell us exactly what has been responsible for that. But I think there definitely needs to be some kind of restrictions put in place. Although it has been surprising that the government, which is supposed to have been in the forefront of abiding by the protocols, are the people who have been seen to be actually doing away with those protocols. Yeah.
Naneh, what's your perspective on the situation right now in the COVID? When you get down to CA as Citizen Alliance political party, and you see what is happening, you hear the figures, you hear news about people absconding from quarantine or refusing or totally avoiding it. What do you people have in mind about it? What do you think should be done?
Well, thank you very much, Lamin, for that great question. But first of all, may I say I'm really elated and honored to be among these great panelists here. When I walked in, I was telling Lamin, oh, I'm shaking. What am I going to do? But then again, I'm happy I'm here because I believe I'm going to have a great takeaway by the time I leave here, having to listen to these great minds over here. So it's a very, very, a happy moment for me. Sure. So coming back to your question, Lamin, for me, I would just use just 2 words, failed leadership. From the start of when COVID hit, we have seen how everything was handled. Because again, a clear strategy or leadership was not put in place to deal with the situation. We have been able to manage the first wave, and we thought we were fine. The numbers gone down, and everybody thought, oh, life is coming back to normal. All of a sudden, there is a new strain, a second wave. But then again, we see that the numbers are increasing. But like you mentioned earlier on, whatever happens in Senegal, the chances of it happening in Gambia are very, very great because the 2 countries are so close and we relate, we do everything together. But then again, if Senegal is taking this thing too serious, I don't think we are as a country. Because from the first wave, when Senegal locked down, Gambia did not lock down. And everybody that was going to Senegal was coming through Gambia. And at some point in time, it was discovered by the Senegalese government that the people that are coming through Senegal were infected. And they made a huge noise about it, and voila, the Gambia was under lockdown again. And here we again, they are taking it very, very serious. Measures are put in place, the curfew, the restrictions of shops and all that. Again, their numbers are more than ours, but we wouldn't say that, we are doing better than them, because again, the population is different. So we cannot look at it from that perspective. But again, I think we really need to take it serious. If we think locking the country or not locking the country is going to solve it, let's just look at, we had lockdown in the past. We have had a curfew in the past. Have we analyzed and see the impact, what it has done in terms of containing the virus, in terms of the economic impact as well, because we have to look at it in correlation. If you lock down, people don't have work, cannot go to work, shops are closed, everybody is crying, everybody is complaining, they cannot get their income. What is it going to do? It's like, okay, that's even a worse COVID of hunger and starvation and all that is going to happen in the country. So definitely, this all boils down to leadership, and we really need to go back on the drawing board. We have had first COVID. Let's analyze and see how well did we do, and also try to close the gaps in terms of containing the second wave. That's what we need to do. If we don't do that, it's just we're gonna go in circle, going round and round and round, and it will not solve anything. The only thing that will happen is resources will be invested, wasted, and we cannot account for it, and we didn't even see the ripple effect, what good is going to do.
So do you think, do you envisage that it will be probably, a right thing to do, like locking down the country or some restriction at least?
Well, on a personal level, I think it will be good if it will do the job. It will contain the virus. But again, who is going to announce that lockdown? Because precedent has been set. Okay? Right now, people, in as much as they know, okay, staying at home, social distancing, isolating is going to help contain the virus. But everybody's mind is like, why should I do it? When our chief servant blatantly violated that, did not follow protocols from the start of COVID. So why should I be the one to be doing it? I have business to run. I'm going to go ahead and run my business. And that is going to be to the detriment of everybody else. So that's why when you're a leader, you lead by example. That's what you need to do.
Sam, well, I expect, of course, there will be a political touch to it from CA. But do you think the government has lost the moral justification to introduce a lockdown, having themselves engaged in calling large gatherings, etc., etc.? And let me start by asking you, in fact, what do you make of the current situation of COVID?
Oh, yes.
From what you've been hearing.
All right. First of all, let me say hello to everybody, Mr. Jawo, Gomez, Bittaye, and glad to be here with you guys. And now, I really like what she said, about the whole situation, that you cannot enforce any restrictions when the leadership is not showing the best example to do so. And it started from day one. I once wrote a paper about National Assembly members going to the National Assembly without face masks and telling people to, observe the protocols. And so many things. Even the earlier approach towards quarantine was unsustainable. I wrote criticizing it, saying that the resources, and I understand there were a lot of corruption around the whole thing. So in the end, they bust that budget. And that is why now they are trying to run after people who probably don't even see the logic behind paying for orders before and now forcing them to pay for their own quarantine. So all those things. Yes, to put it, she said that, well, the first wave was managed and the numbers went down. I think it wasn't necessarily numbers going down by my observation, but under-reporting starting. They started under-reporting to attract tourists because
and that was deliberate.
I think so.
Okay.
Because it was a time when the tourist season was about to emerge, and they couldn't even realize that Europeans will never come. The 1918 pandemic took about 3 years, killed about 50 million people in the world. So now this is dragging into 2022 and 23. America, with all their resources, are talking about vaccinating probably 3/4 of their population by November during the fall. America. Now the rest of the world, we don't know when.
We don't know when.
So it's going to linger around. But people are not taking it seriously in this country, Cham. I go to the market and see nobody in mask. Do you even police officers in this? They don't care. Nobody cares. So now, but that is all because the government is not showing a good example. What the heck were they doing about an inauguration of a party with that broad spreader of the disease there? The inauguration of the NPP was a disaster. It's a major spreader. Let's face it. Call it what it is. But it was like it has to be done for political reasons. So politics is really interfering with science here. And we give priority to, and we are going to suffer the consequence. And I'm saying that the numbers are being reported now, are underreported. People are dying like heck in this country. I know relatives who died of COVID and never even went to the hospital. So,
that's serious.
That aggressive approach towards finding out who is killed by COVID or not.
It's no longer.
Because all the symptoms being said about COVID were shown.
Okay. Dr. Bittaye, let's ignore all the political sentiments attached to it. We want to have a professional status report on the Gambian COVID situation at the moment, and how do people get out or manage to escape or prevent, themselves from going to quarantine. First of all, how bad is the situation now in the second wave?
Yeah, so good afternoon, and thank you for the invitation once again.
Thank you.
Like my colleagues, I'm very happy to be with them all. And this is my first time meeting Mr. Sarr. I've seen him on TV.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we are really happy meeting you. But that's I know them very well. So thank you once again. So there are important points, and first we have to reassure the public and everybody watching that yes, there may be underreporting, but there is no willful or deliberate action to give the people wrong information. It has never happened, and it will never happen on our watch. Because the system is so transparent that the number of people who are involved in the mechanism, we just approve at the end that, okay, the situation report you've done, it can go ahead. And sometimes it's very damaging to us, and you've seen it on many times. I mean, us, not political, us at the Minister of Health, as the Director of Health Services. Because you can see in the situation report many times saying that we've been asking for internet for 2 months, we've been doing, and like telling us things that we should be, generator is not working and all that. It has to be, the message is as good as the messenger. So you have to be very transparent and clear, and people will then trust what you say. So at no point have we willfully underreported. So what has happened is that sometimes people may not come to the testing as much as possible. So if you see that as underreporting, that we are not testing widely the whole country at the same rate, some people talk about that. That probably if you are testing Basse, Farafenye, all the places, like you are testing Banyul, maybe the response would have been different. And we agree. But the truth is, there are signs and symptoms you can see in the country which will tell you if there is a problem or not. For example, the time we had few cases, we had a lot of beds that were available. You don't see people coming with pneumonia and others. But when we reached the peak, all the hospitals were having many pneumonia, observation rooms were filled up. Every day I'm being called to try to see how to juggle, where we will move one patient from this place to another place where that's available, because they have excess and maybe there's a bed somewhere. But those things will tell you actually the parameters regarding the beds you have, how the COVID is doing. Like for example in Senegal right now, they are not having beds. They have problem of beds and oxygen. For now, our treatment centers, we are able to handle for now. So, and this thing depicts what response you are going to take, because it's all evidence-based. For example, if we reach a level where we cannot handle all the cases that trace them to their roots, then we will start to say, okay, now you home isolate. Those with mild cases, home isolate. Those who don't do this, don't do that. We change the strategy based on how things are going. But what used to happen here, when the cases started, people from UK or somebody somewhere abroad, because UK was doing home isolation for positive cases, and we are at a stage when we could trace everyone and contact them and keep them, they tell me, look, me, I'm in UK, I'm from UK, and they are doing home isolation. Why are you telling us to be, to be quarantined? Because people think whatever happens in UK should happen here. Whatever happens in Senegal should happen here. It depends on the stages. So now, for example, we started to take these cases and ask them to quarantine when they come from these hotspots at their own cost. Recently, I had UK announcing that now anybody from the hotspots that are named by UK, you have to isolate in a hotel for 10 days, and you pay for it. So this is a new disease. People start.
The whole idea is to travel, is to prevent unnecessary travel.
Unnecessary travel. But you see, you have to try to balance it with the livelihoods as much as possible. So when we did the restrictions, we looked at the when we closed down totally. Then we looked at what we had. So then we said, when we are doing the new resolution, the new regulations, this time, based on our analysis and everything, we said, in the regulation, we said it's better not to put a number. Initially, we put a number, for example, indoor activity, you have a maximum of 10, depending on the room. Outdoor, 50. But it causes a lot of problem. When people come, they say, no, we have a hall, we can do social. So it was causing. So this time, when we are doing the regulations, we said, now what we do is, let's say the volume is reduced. So in the regulation this time, it did not stop mass gathering, but it stated that if you have a volume, a place that you use 2/3 of the place, ensure social distancing, wear a mask and all that. So we use volume, social distancing, and then wear the mask and all that. So some people write to us, some institutions, and ask for advice regarding their graduation. That we said, the law allows you to go ahead once you can do this, but we advise that you don't go ahead. Some will not go ahead, some follow those regulations. Some never even ask. So this is it. So his important question about how did this happen. I can tell you the first time when we started the Golden, hotel.
Golden Beach Hotel.
I was there when the first cases came. We were there at the airport, get them. It was, people from that time, the security have not been very strong. They came, they overpowered us, they break and went away. Right now, what is happening in most of the facilities?
Where did these 100 people come from?
So we have the security there, they are there. But some of them wait till night, open the door and, may find a way of going.
And go.
No, sometimes they're evasive. Some of them is because they are called. you come and do a test, but in the Gambia it's in such a way, unfortunately, that some people will be able to get their test results even before we get them. So they know. And then
somebody will call them.
Somehow they will know.
Where you are negative or positive.
Yes, and then they just, some of them, they put off their phones. You try to get them, you cannot get them, you do everything, you cannot get them. And but since we started this, we've seen a lot of positive issues. But also we've seen some mistakes. Like we had 3 or 4 people whom you know that actually they initially refused, but later went to the facility. But we did not capture it, and we are going to bring a rejoinder to say that, oh, actually these 1, 2, 3 people had actually applied, and it was an error to put them in that. So yeah, but generally now we have people come, and this is not a one-off. It is going to continue. The idea is not to name and shame. No, the idea is to get these people to know them, and once, even if it is passed, we try to do contact tracing, follow their people, test them, and just have an idea.
But then if you have 100 people on the loose, and they are not tested, what do you do first to get them to be tested first to see whether they have contact traces? They have already infected, their people. It's not a nightmare.
No, we have a system for that. Once you are positive, there is a team responsible who will call, and if you are cooperative,
I mean, these people who did not go into quarantine, they are already, who ran away. Yeah. How do you get them? That's my problem now.
Yeah, so there is a period that once we get their contacts, if we follow them and ask them, they do not have symptoms, most likely they will not, because you only transmit the disease. Most of them are not symptomatic. That's why they're able to be at home and all. But it's good we know they and just do the safety. But most of them already know that they are positive. They are doing their own home isolation. Because they don't want to infect their people. But it's good we know, and then follow them up and follow the system.
Do you think it's necessary, at the port of entry, you get hold of either their passports or something, valuable from them? At least you know that, when they decide not to come, there is something you hold on to.
Yes, but even that is not serving the purpose very well. Yeah, if we do that, some of them know that they will go home, wait until they are about to leave, then they come. They come, they will leave your passport with you for 5, 10 days, go do their funeral, do their business, do everything. Until so many people, and then later say, okay, I'm here, you can do your test. It's too late. And when we found out that you're positive, now we have to go to those funerals. It's a big, big problem. So what we want to do to solve that is now to start rapid diagnostic testing, which in few minutes
on their
arrival, so that we know before you even leave the airport. And then that.
Do you have that mechanism now to have a result right at the airport?
Yeah, for the test kits, we are expecting them this weekend. Okay. And hopefully we'll start next week. The other one, we already have the 45 minutes one. We have a lot of them for the gene experts, and that one we are hoping to probably take it to the other regions so that they can do rapid testing. That will take 45 minutes, and it's a gene expert one.
And you get your results.
Doctor, I want to, talk about one issue, and that is, I think there is a lot of people have this conspiracy theory about COVID. Selling it around that it doesn't even exist. It's a Western conspiracy to, some will even say it's a 4G or 5G situation that is being done to sterilize black people. And a lot of people believe it. You go to Senegal, the same thing. Now, why? Because, again, there is this stigma about COVID. I heard about this voicemail from this lady. I don't know who she was, but she said, people will come to MRC with all symptoms of COVID, but the moment you tell them that they are to be subjected to a test, they run away. No, I will not be tested, because everybody thinks this is serious.
Yes.
To remedy that, to solve that problem, I think the ministry should sensitize the people and tell them that this is like having malaria, having, flu, which, as a matter of fact, overwhelming people it kills, those with pre-existing
to demystify
old people, and so the recovery rates, in comparison to the death rate. So they will know that, hey, this is something you can get and recover. And the majority always, in all statistics, show that the majority recovers. Even the younger ones are asymptomatic. They may have it, and
they wouldn't know it until it is gone.
Yeah, so I think, again, this is another area that they should look into by you know, letting the people know that this is just like malaria, how you could run when you feel malaria and get a test, or when you don't. Let them run to the test. But people avoid testing centers.
Yeah, because of the stigmas you talk about. But there have been issues like, you said you have security, you work with security, I don't know, police or something, but there have been accusations that people who are, for example, in London or wanting to come next week, call their relative, they contact security. When they get to the airport, I mean, the security managed to sneak them out and they go to their homes without money. What mechanism is there that everybody is covered at the airport? Nobody escapes. So whether the man is a minister or the man is I mean, that's where the problem is.
No, I think what we keep saying is that we just need one good evidence. Then because I got, for example, calls from different people accusing that, oh, they went to the hotel and they are charging them 6,000. When we have an agreement with the hotel that this is how much it should be, 2,500. So somebody said that he wants to the hotel. I said, can I have the evidence? I called the hotel people and they said, no, that's not true. We've given them this. So we want to know, if you have good evidence, please, just sneak it to us. That's all we were asking for, and we will set very, very good example.
But of course,
but you see, the truth is there are many parties involved in this. You have security, you have health workers, employees. So it will be very difficult to just pinpoint where the issue is. But if you have a problem like this, we just need to know. But we are trying our best to see where it is happening. With any lead we have, we try to investigate it.
You know as evidence that these 100 people really escaped quarantine.
No, some of these people, yes, they escape. And we notify the police, they are following them. They are trying to get them. We are telling the public, if you know where they are, let us know, and we will get them. So call 1025. They themselves now are coming. And this is not about punishing. Once they report themselves, it's okay. We take it up from there and go ahead and they cooperate, we move on. It's not punitive action. The ultimate aim is just to sort the contact and make sure we save the people.
Don't you think, Mr. Jawo, it's a responsibility also?
The press release, from the ministry, Sarr, I think, said that those who don't report will be prosecuted.
Yes.
Well, of course, yes.
That's the ultimate aim.
That's
because the law states.
If you don't report.
Yes.
If you report, fine, you have obliged. But if you don't, until they have to look for you,
exactly,
then you risk prosecution.
But when it comes to that strict attitude, approach towards the whole thing, it becomes a little suspicious. Something like they think,
but if there is no consequence, anybody will.
That's why I think the awareness level, you have to focus on really educating the masses.
We agree with him 100%. That's true.
Well, I think there is also, the political will also is a bit questionable, because the very fact that the president has gone all over the country with those huge crowds, and unfortunately the Minister of Health was in all those crowds as well, it tells something else. And well, the other issue is, just as Sam alluded to, I think the sensitization of the people, particularly now that we are expecting the vaccine in this country.
That's what that's my next question.
We need to, the people need to be sensitized. A good example is, my wife is a teacher, and sometime not long ago in her school, people came there. I think they were nurses or whatever, people in medical dress. And then all the children started running away. They thought it was the vaccine, because their parents have already told them under no circumstances would you allow yourself to be vaccinated.
That was where I'm coming to, like some.
Can I just comment? For me, it's really I don't think we can overemphasize how serious this disease is and how much we should put seriousness in dealing with it. And then again, we've seen from the first wave. You say, okay, the airport is locked down. When people come, they'll be subject, they need to provide a negative test, or they'll be taken to quarantine. That was a whole lot of helter-skelter here. Fight, people don't want to go or whatever. But then we've seen other countries where they're coming from. They don't leave their houses. Even your next door neighbor, you should not be seen to be visiting that person. And then they abide. They follow those guidelines to the letter. So when they come here, why are we so relaxed in implementing those protocols or guidelines that we put forward? You see, if you, even kids, when you tell them, so they feel the malado, mudefko, doruloko. So they feel the malado, defoloko mudora. At the end of the day, they've called them over and over and over, repeatedly, knowing that you're just saying. And that's what we've seen also with all these press releases coming from everywhere. And look at that one that Mr. Sarr has said. It says if you don't report yourself, you may be prosecuted if you're found or whatever. I can bet you here, nobody will be prosecuted. I can tell you that. So if you're not going to do it, don't say it. And the public has come to, gotten used to hearing all these things, knowing that nothing is going to happen afterward. Again, when you come to the airport, we don't lack the security personnel to be stationed at the airport and ensure that everybody that comes on that flight, there is a manifesto. Manifest. There you go. A manifest of people that have boarded that flight and that are supposed to land in the Gambia. You should not miss one person that has come on that flight. You either provide a negative test result, 72 hours or whatever the protocols are, or you go to a quarantine center. Now you pay. That's when you knew before you come that when you come you have to pay. So that's not negotiable. Yeah. You understand? So when you say you're going to do something, do it. Other countries are doing it, they're enforcing, and it's working. Why can't we do it? Again, I blame the minister because I know people who have made arrangements before they boarded their flight to say, I cannot go to a quarantine center because I don't want to go. It's not a matter of they cannot afford it, but I just don't want to go. I want to be in my house. Arrangements were done. And when they got to the airport, they were taken to they picked up. When the soldiers were there, when the ministry people were there, what is happening? So at the end of the day, the people that put the laws or the rules or the guidelines are the very ones we see flaunting those rules. So at the end of the day, if I know that a relative or a friend was given a privilege, there is no way I'm going to subject myself to that when I have my house. So that's where it needs to start. That's where we need to start.
So I think this is important.
Yeah.
And this is very stress and very good point. And we really need to get those information. That's what we are saying. If you know anyone who has done this, let us know. Because now what we are saying, if we know who is doing it within us, then we can remove that quickly. Because otherwise it continues. But it's very difficult to get this type of information from you, for example. After this, I would like to get this information, and then we see what will happen. Yeah. So the other thing that he said is very important, that we need to ensure that people are aware. All these things we are doing, they are last resorts. We would not have done this. We don't want to do this. But, the information has to continue. Everybody has to be part of it, and everybody is aware. If people are aware, then they will understand that this is for the greater good. Then there will be need for, like some countries, like just let me land in this situation. There are some countries that have done lockdown. There are some countries that have never done lockdown throughout this. There are different trials of this response. There are countries that they've never done lockdown. And there were times when they really controlled for a long time. So you are trying different methods to see what will suit your country best and also give you very good results. That's all what we are doing, and then it's a balancing act. And that's what all countries are doing.
Okay. Now, I think there's a bit of a responsibility on the side of the people who are traveling also. Now, you know that in London, nobody dares violate any little bit of the restrictions. But you said, well, I am from the Gambia, so I don't care. Nobody enforce the restrictions to the latter. So I can go because there is no consequence. Yeah. You come and violate the rules of your own country, put your people at risk, because, it starts with your family. First, when you escape, the first people you see is your son or you don't know that they are put in their risk. So all these are issues, I think, is not the government alone. It should be our own people. Do not travel unless you have to.
Yeah. And I read the paper not quite so long ago from Senegal saying that Senegalese now go to the Gambia to party during weekend.
Exactly. That was published in the L'Observateur, LOPS.
Yes.
And I reproduced it in the Standard because I drew the attention of the authorities there. They said they didn't know about this, but now that they know, they will check whether any Gambian restrictions have not been violated.
No,
that was their
position. If it comes to that level, where the Senegalese are aware of it to that level, then you know what is underneath is more serious. These borders are very porous.
Well, it's not a question. This one is not. This is not a border closure. The issue is not border closure. It means the restrictions in Banjul and in Dakar are different.
Yeah, exactly.
In Dakar, you cannot go to party.
The bars and
you cannot go to nightclub, but in Banjul you can do. So they take buses. Now it's a big business. They take buses, hire them. You book hotel, everything is packaged. You come to Banjul, you stay a weekend and dance and party and go.
You go home.
When we told the authorities, they said, well, we're going to see whether our own present restrictions have not been violated. If that is done, then of course they will move against the people. But then of course, the problem is now.
Anyway.
Okay, Doctor, just to wrap up, how do you think at the moment how bad is the situation? You said there are no pressure on hospital beds, which means we're managing it fairly well.
And the vaccine.
And the vaccine, yes, we're talking about that.
The truth is that now we've started, like we are in the second wave, I can say.
Okay.
Because, you know, if you looked at December 5th and others, we were having 0, 5 cases. But now we're going to 31, 53 and others every day. So the second wave has started. And we should all be very vigilant and we try as much individually and collectively ensure that we follow the regulations. We are also reviewing it regularly. We have periodic meetings, look at all the data, see what intervention we need to add, and this is what we do all the time, and then recommend to the government that, oh, do this or do that. So regularly we are looking at it. The projections for the first wave were very bleak. You know, they were talking about 1,000 to 3,000 at the peak of cases per day. But luckily we did not reach that level. I mean, even the severe cases they predicted, we did not. And in Gambia at that time, just to show you, that time Gambia, even West Africa here, people were accusing the Gambia, you know, because Wahoo, we did not want our numbers to be high. So it was only Gambia and Liberia who were testing all deaths. And that's not good for the country, because then it increases your mortality rate. Because some people die for other reasons, but you found the incidental COVID, but you put it COVID-related. But we did that because even if somebody dies for anything, transparent. No, we wanted to contact trace. Because if you say that that person, you will not test him, and actually he had COVID, then you will not be able to reach the family. And then there's a problem. We don't. It's not about the name. It's about how much you can do. So wow, even the regional was not happy with that. But we had to do that, and Liberia had to do that. So that's why even there was a time our mortality rates was higher, but we did not mind, because what the idea behind it was to get to those people quickly and So right now, things are, it's upsurge of cases are happening, and we are reviewing all the time. We've not been so much pressed at beds, but we are expecting it, and so we are preparing.
So one should think this is the best time to advise the government to contemplate some sort of restrictions before it gets out of hand.
Yes, but you know, whether we need to do lockdown, that's not the only restriction, because for lockdown comes with lot of other issues and people. So we need to. It's not only we need to sit with a lot of experts, epidemiologists, and all, usual like we do regularly, and then before we advise that. But as of now, we have not advised that to the government.
Good. What about vaccine? Now, recently it was in the media that perhaps some vaccines will be available for Gambians. Have they come?
Yes, so I have some good news regarding the vaccine. I was just discussing with him that, you know, the vaccine, the way we are getting it, you know, what other countries, what they did, they gambled. We did not gamble like them. So when people were making the vaccine and there was prospect, they were doing phase 1, phase 2 trial, some countries quickly went to the company and said, I'm booking for 1 billion, I'm booking for 3 billion, I'm booking for 300 million vials. So they put the money well before, even they did not know whether it was going to work or not. We couldn't do that. So that's why the vaccines are very difficult to come by. Even if you have the money now, we were talking to one manufacturer in India, Serum Institute, that is even supplying to WHO and UK. And they are telling us that they have booked for so long. But through the COVAX facility, that's our own individual way. We are working as a Gambia and others. But we have 2 other methods that we are getting the vaccine from. One is through the WHO and Gavi method. And those people have promised us up to 20% of the vaccine.
20% of the Gambia's
population, yes.
So you, how many doses do you need for the Gambia? Are you calculating 2 million? Or?
No, so right now, the vaccines, the data for those under 15 is not yet out.
It's only the elderly.
It's not recommended for now, because when you're doing research, most of the time you don't include kids and pregnant women most of the time, so that if there's an adverse reaction, it doesn't harm them.
They are more
so because of that also is a disadvantage to them, because when the vaccine comes out, they say, okay, we did not test it on them, even though it's very good on others, so we don't know whether it applies. So they will have to do some more subsequent research. So because of that now, it's not recommended for those less than 15 for now, while the studies are going on. So we are going to vaccinate.
How soon is the vaccine? Is it in the Gambia now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Well,
how soon do you expect it?
Yes.
How soon?
So I don't want to raise the hopes too high. But you know, we've already done the applications, and we have been in touch with Gavi, I don't know whether I should say this, but what they give us is very short timeline that most likely they will start shipping it, and then we can start having it. But
and
if
you are suggesting that at least 20% of the country's needs, at least those who should get it, we will have that dose.
Yes, and more. That's just for Gavi.
I hope we
but
are
the
gonna...
other 40%, we are getting it from the AU. But we are paying it.
Okay.
That's what we are paying
We're
it.
paying.
But through the African Bank and others. And we've already started that process also. And they've already told us what they allocated for us for Pfizer, for AstraZeneca, and for Johnson and Johnson. We already know.
How do you expect to handle the the conspiracy theory people?
Yeah, you know, already we have this problem of who should go to quarantine. If this doses come to, you can expect problems like you have said. It's very important that 15 years under pregnant women are vulnerable, but you will see somebody who will go, I want to get it at all costs, even if it's not safe for you.
No, but for pregnant women, it's been shown that it's fine for them.
Yes, so far?
Yes,
okay.
So far. So they are getting the vaccine.
Oh,
but now, when it comes, for example, we are not going to get a lot quickly. So we've prioritized whom we are going to give.
Yeah.
And
there will be no jumping of a queue.
For now, what we are starting with is the health workers.
Not the president and his cabinet.
No, we start with the health workers, the frontline workers. Sorry, I should say
frontline workers.
We start with them,
exactly.
And then gradually we go.
So the elderly and the sick.
Yes, after the health workers, those who are elderly and sick, morbidity, those with morbidity, those are the next one. So that may even.
Are you going to come to find people at the village bantabas, or they must report to the hospital, or how do you do it?
No, we have a strategy already.
You already
know,
have a strategy.
Gambia, we are one of the few countries in this region who are very, very vast in
introducing vaccinations. We have this primary health care and
we have a good system in place that is ready.
I remember when we were in school, we used to have jabs.
Mr. Bittaye, I would also make one observation.
Yeah.
Like, if we are to take vaccines from Russia, where
the
President Putin say he's not going to take it,
no, Putin had taken his own already, isn't it?
No, he refused to.
His daughter did.
Yeah.
His daughter did.
He was refusing to take it.
Well,
in Russia. They run
but his daughter took it. The Potnik one. Ours is not the Potnik one.
Yes, but these
we have Visa and what? ASEC.
So people have to be aware that the safety of the vaccine and efficacy is our number one priority.
Yes.
We are not going to take a vaccine that is handed over to us because it's cheap. No.
Right.
We have a stringent measure. Any vaccine we take must be approved, pre-qualified by WHO, and must be pre-qualified by other 3 countries or 2, which are listed by WHO. There are 11 of them whom, they have very stringent regulatory measures.
Right.
So like all the vaccines we are talking about, pre-qualified by WHO, pre-qualified by USA, and then another 1 or 2 countries who have the regimen, and we have our MCA here who are also going to look at all the data, advise before we buy. So we don't want any handouts. We are going to buy it. We have the resources, and the government is committed to use it, and we are going to go. So it's not we want, India, we have this sign of vaccine, we want to, no, we are not interested.
Excellent.
So efficacy.
That's excellent. At least we should press the government for that.
But is it going to be voluntary or, mandatory?
Mandatory, of course.
Why
should it be mandatory?
So we don't have enough, really.
No, when there's enough.
So, I mean, like once we get 60-70% of the people, when we have 60-70% of the people vaccinated, it is good. So it's going to provide the herd immunity. So, like, we are going to, you health workers will all be interested. If you see health workers, Minister of Health, all of us rushing to get it, and you don't want it, I don't know, we'll keep talking and advising you, but we'll give it to those next person who need it until we can convince all of you.
So it will be voluntary.
Again, I think what you've explained here is very, very refreshing to hear, but I think it has to go out there to the general public, to the masses, to the vulnerable people. This sensitization needs to happen, and it needs to happen prior to the vaccine getting here. If not, we run into issues. And you don't want to get the vaccine, you pay money for it, and then it sits here, nobody is taking it because they don't understand it, or there's all this conspiracy theory like Mr. Sarr said earlier on. And then again, to Lamin's point earlier, you've outlined the frontline workers, really need it most than anybody else. Then you have the people maybe who are sick, and the elderly and all that. If that's the plan, I beg in the name of God, let that be the plan. And not because I'm the minister, I drag my whole family. When you have frontline workers who have not even gotten it yet in the provinces, then you give it to those.
But Naneh, in other countries, for example, I think in the UK and France, they started with the president.
Yes,
it's very important.
It's a good point because it's a short example.
I didn't even mention the president. I did not mention the president.
No, what I'm trying to say, I said,
water under the bridge if
I said to make sure that the process is really transparent, let us not prioritize the ministers and the government just because they are in affluent position. But the other side of the coin is that those important people in the society, such as the president, in order to boost confidence in the vaccine, can start by himself. And
that's why I didn't
Boris
say the
Johnson,
president.
like Boris Johnson did. He said, I have got the vaccine.
And Joe Biden did.
Joe Biden.
Obama did.
Obama did. So that
people,
ordinary people will know, okay, if Adama Barrow is injected, then it's fine. It's safe. It's safe. The Imam Ratib. If the bishop.
But see, my point was not even directed to the president, because again, that's the president. Like we've seen other countries, it's just to give confidence, because if the president takes it, everybody will think, who wants to kill the president? If the president takes it,
no, they will say, well, if the president can take it and nothing happens to him, then.
But what I'm saying, I know how our country works here. Everybody wants to man my can, keep my can. Exactly. And it's just a matter of a phone call. It's happening right now, and I'm sure when the vaccine comes, if the protocol is not really followed through and strict measures put in place, that will happen. And you will see frontline workers still waiting to get it when other people have gotten it who are not supposed to get it. I mean, everybody is going to get it at some point in time. But let's follow the protocol. That's what I'm saying, because it happens over and over and over. And I bet you, even with mentioning it here, it will happen. We're going to sit and talk about it again.
Wow. Doctor? We are taking leave of you now. Is there any more in your diary you want to share with us?
No, there are a lot, but I think we will have to have another time.
Okay, you are always welcome.
But we are very happy with the response we are getting and the advice and all. And we hope that all the members here are influential people, and they will continue to send the message. Because it's very difficult for us to reach every nook and corner of the country all the time. So, and it's good that wherever people are, let them send the message and allay the fears. Because like Honorable was telling me, you know, if people, this conspiracy that they wanted to kill us all long time, they could have done it through long time. They could have put it in our cokes, like he said, in all the things we are importing, you know. So let's understand that this is just conspiracy theorists, and everybody supports us to read this. And we will try, and maybe these things are happening, but we need the corrective measures. So it's not only good to talk about it and blame, like it's good we get the information. And if we don't act, then you can come in and say it here. Like that, look, these people, we've told Dr. Bittaye and nothing has happened or anything. But sometimes it's going on, you are aware, but people who can act are not aware, and then it will just continue.
That's the Gambian. I don't want to put anybody in trouble.
So let's know.
That's the attitude of Gambian.
So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa Bittaye, Director of Health at the Ministry of Health.
That's great. I think you should be getting doctor every week.
Well, he's always welcome.
Against the backdrop of the society of the...
Exactly, always
let's just make sure as health workers, you all shouldn't be seen in spreader events and things like that. It doesn't tell well. Because it gives people to be so, how to call it, retaliating, and not trying to follow protocol and help themselves, but then say, because you did it, I'm going to do it.
Those are for politicians. These people are...
No. This is not a political thing. No, this is not a political statement. Seriously. It is not. It is not.
What's he saying is right.
It's important, yes. You know, like they themselves should not be present.
I have run into people who say, after the rally at the stadium, the president been able to
No, it's true. Personally, since you are in the limelight, if somebody see you at one gente, I will say, well, you know, this doctor was there, and those are the people.
It's true. Like, if you see me not wearing a mask, so like you'll say, oh, the director of health is not wearing a mask.
That's what they said. That's what they said of the president. Each time they said, oh, we saw the president not wearing a mask. No, that was when he was talking. No, that was not before he was talking. That's why people like us should set examples all the time.
We'll keep trying.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mustafa.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Doctor.
This is
nice meeting you.
Good. Thank you very much. Well, this is the brunch on Kerr Fatou, and we will continue right away, even without any, any topic. That's what. But let's invite this interlude of music or perhaps commercials.
For all your pastry, bakery, and quality food, CK Restaurant is the only place to be. We do catering for birthdays, weddings, and all related services. We have all kinds of local foods, American, European, and even beyond. Come and have a taste of our local juice, ebe, and other services. At CK Restaurant, customer satisfaction is our priority.
Welcome back to the Brunch live on Kerr, Fatou. I'm Lamin Cham. Continuing with, of course, this Saturday's edition. We've got Dr. Bittaye, who's been telling us the latest COVID situation. And of course, the good news that the Gambia government is very much prepared to get us vaccines. And he also talked about the procedures that are expected once the vaccines are here. Good news there, gentlemen, not so. Now we're talking...
Lady.
Gentlemen and lady. I haven't forgotten about it.
Thank you, Honorable.
Good. Now, the West African Intervention Troop here in Banjul, if you like it to call it, ECOMIC, has been in the news of late. The latest information not only extended their mission to December or so, but is going to be transformed into a police force to be fed, from personnel from the Ivory Coast, Senegal, can you remind me the others? Togo. All of them, and Ghana, of course, the only Anglophone countries there. Well, the government of the Gambia, through the defense minister, had said that this was just mere proposals. But of course, this request was made by the President of the Republic of the Gambia. So it was the Gambia government's behest that this request was made. Now, since then, of course, there have been the usual hot debate about whether actually ECOMIC is any more needed in the country. The government's position has been that until the TRRC recommendations and the elections that are coming probably is premature to let ECOMIC go. The opposition politicians have said, in fact, it's the government that's to blame in the first place for the slow pace of the security reform, which really necessitated their stay. Now, my panelists will go through that. And again, we have an expert in the studio in Sarr, himself a former commander of the Gambia Army, and somebody who writes a lot on security matters. And Cham, I expect you to be very, very, very independent on this matter. But let me start with Jawo. It's been 4 years now since we have ECOMIC. I mean, the initial reason was that President Yahya Jammeh had refused to step down, and there was a need to enforce the will of the Gambian people. And he was threatened with force if he didn't go. He eventually went, and ECOMIC were here. But up to now, the new government felt that their presence is still necessary. You agree?
No, certainly I don't agree. I think ECOMIC was definitely needed here during that transition period when, there was this impasse, and then, so eventually President Jammeh left the country, and then, they were needed here for that period. But as far as I'm concerned right now, definitely it is not necessary. But because when we have ECOMIC, or transforming it into a police force, this is for conflict areas, Gambia is definitely not in conflict. So I don't think it is definitely necessary to continue having ECOMIC.
But the reasons, in the first place, the reasons why they were here, those reasons still remain, because most people's apprehension is that the army that really they feared was used by Jammeh to terrorize people or perhaps to impose dictatorship. Not much of that army or security have changed in terms of personnel and thinking and orientation, because the security reform that they talk about that will necessitate this either reorienting or reducing them is not yet in place. So maybe justifiably, ECOMIC should stay until that is done.
Well, I agree. For one reason or the other, the government has been foot dragging on this security reform. I don't know why they have done that. They should have by now definitely gone very, very far on the security reform, which unfortunately they have not. But all the same, I think, the situation has drastically changed in this country, and the Gambian security forces are capable enough to keep security in this country.
Why do you
there
think,
is absolutely no need
why
to
do you
have
think the
a foreign force.
government does not seem to be comfortable to leave our security with the Gambian security men alone? Why are they not comfortable? Why do you think they have a reason to feel insecure?
I don't know, because whatever the case, I think the blame should go to the government. If they had, carried on the security reform, by now we would have been in a completely different situation, and they would have had the kind of security forces that we need in this country. But for one reason or the other, they decided not to go ahead. With the security sector reform that they had promised the people. But all the same, I'm still convinced that there is absolutely no need to continue to keep economic in this country.
Naneh, if you look at the security in this country at the moment, you think we still need economic?
No, I don't think we still need economic. I've always been saying that they've overstayed their welcome. Yes, there was
but they were welcomed by the government, so can you say this?
They've overstayed their welcome, because again, the reason why they were here is very, very clear to everybody. Okay, again, we thank God that there was no fight, there was no, a force applied or whatever. But then again, if you say, well, even though nothing happened and they were here already, we want to maintain them and see that everything, the peace maintains. Okay? Remember, this government promised us 3 years. And in that 3 years, all these reforms that we're talking about, including the security sector reform, was supposed to happen in 3 years. Really? It's 4 years already. We're heading into the 5th year. What happened? It all tells us that the political will is not there. And then again, the people that are advising the chief servant here, the commander-in-chief, are not telling him the right things or the correct things, because they believe, well, okay, the army and the police or whatever was polarized. We all knew what was going on during the Jammeh regime. And again, I think during the impasse, at some point in time, it was clear that, okay, the army was not going to, take arms or whatever to fight for Jammeh and here and there. Some believed that, some did not believe that, but then again, it did not happen. There was no need for that to happen, and then they intervened. Now they've been here 3 years, that did not happen. Why the need at this point in time? Yes, when you talk about security, yes, there's been, people breaking into people's houses and all the things that have been happening even before ECOMIC. They've been happening. So for me, I think what the president needed to do is trying to cement his relationship with the army, the current security. Try to build confidence. Try to give them hope that, you're Gambians. If you can do it outside, you can better do it here. Because we send our soldiers out there for peacekeeping missions. And according to reports of what they tell us, they do extremely well. Exactly. You understand? They're super professional. They execute their duties to the best of their abilities. If they're doing it outside, why can't they do it here? And okay, if we have enough to send outside, why do we need ECOMIC? I ask myself that. Well, so I really don't see the need for ECOMIC to be here. It's all a matter to serve one person's interest and just that interest alone, nothing else.
Okay, listen. If you contrast the situation that was before now, the Gambia government, this new government had made it clear from the onset that the army, for example, was politicized, not just polarized, but politicized. There were elements there who really were blindly loyal to former President Jammeh and even carrying out atrocities, on his instructions. Thank God, according to the army themselves, some of those people have been identified, and these are the so-called junglers, arraigned and, and taken removed from there. It is not the entire armed forces who were involved in those things. The entire armed forces were doing their normal, everyday, routine duties, that is to protect the territorial integrity of this nation. Jammeh is gone. Those elements have been identified and gone. Yet the Gambia government still believe, that there are elements there who might be blindly loyal to Jammeh and tries some sort of subversive, moves once the presence of the economic or whatever forces is no longer there. That has been the apprehension. If we will face the reality, the government is not happy. That it's not sure that once the foreign troops leave, the army would still remain the army that is supposed to be subject to civilian control and not trying to do subversive things. That perhaps is the position of the government when they say
I would have bought into that if they had done the right reforms, especially the security reform, and highlighted these elements that they feel are Jammeh loyalists and are still Jammeh loyalists and are in a security reform, and let them weed them out, identify them, and see what they do with them. But, I mean, we all know, us sitting here, that maybe the ones they're talking about, we don't know them. But we are aware of ones that were openly loyal to Jammeh, that have carried out, you know, projects or things for Jammeh in the open, who are now dining and kicking in with this current government. They're their besties. So what do you tell us? Why do you want to do selective justice here?
Well,
if you're saying somebody was loyal to Jammeh,
they said,
put aside everybody that was loyal to
okay,
Jammeh. There is not a degree of your loyalty is 50%, this 25%, 75%.
That's a good point, because the ongoing TRS, which they said is a justification to maintaining the army, on the West African troops, until those recommendations are implemented. Those are some of the reasons they advance in seeking for the extension of ECOMIC, yes. But ironically, that TRRC had, you know, adversely mentioned people who are still in influential positions, who would have normally been not near, you know, public office or that kind of office. But then, of course, the government has said, look, we have to wait until the recommendations are in hand before we can move against Mr. XOB. So, I mean, they are justified in that. Or just because Mr. Sarr is mentioned, Sarr should leave office. The government said that is not a rational way of doing
and
things.
I still disagree, because some has been mentioned and then they left office. They let them go.
Oh, yes, that's another thing.
A lot of them.
Yes.
So that also doesn't hold water.
Okay, let's look at the experts in the house. And Sam, get us through. You, of course, are very, very critical of the presence of ECOMIC in the first place. But can you advise us professionally? Is there a need, as the government claim, you know, by, you know, justification of the TRRC implementation and some other things, that is premature for them to leave?
Oh, yes, thank you, Lamin. I want to start by saying that I disagree with all of you.
Okay.
ECOMIC was not at all needed in the first place.
Well,
but I was there when the idea of ECOMIC was sold to the United Nations.
In New York, yeah.
In New York. Because when the impasse happened, I reflected back to 1981. And so when Senegal, I remembered when Senegal intervened, how nasty it was, how deadly it was. Over 1,000 Gambians, innocent people.
The official figure was 500.
Without ECOMIC, Jammeh would have still been here.
No,
okay,
listen.
let's listen.
That is if the whole world was against Jammeh. There was serious sanctions that could have been implemented to force him out of office. And reading from Jammeh, I read from day one at the State House, when the votes were counted, that he was not interested in staying in power. Some people just pushed him into it. But when they read, I was there, I was invited for the first time. When they were reading these results, we came to a point where Mr. Roberts, who was taking the numbers, declared that we have lost. The APRC had lost. And we all say, well, he come, and I thought he was going to say, gentlemen, we have lost, what are we going to do? He came with his Quran and said, this is the fairest and freest election ever in the world. I have no question about the credibility of this election. And I, billahi, wallahi, that's what he said. I am leaving. Tomorrow I'm going to call Adam Obara and congratulate him. And that's how we left. Baji, the current national security advisor, could be a witness. He took me there. I've never been there. I was here with him with Axigai. And we discussed how he lost. In fact, that night I went home and wrote a paper saying that all this hoopla, that the IEC was biased. They were paid $400,000 US. That all this electoral reform, which never happened, demonstrations, on the whole, the IEC could deliver it the right way. I wrote a paper like that, congratulating him. But then, you know, we came with the story of the IEC coming back 3 days after to throw a monkey wrench in the wheels by saying that there were mistakes which were not supposed to occur. And that is when what people use to push Jammeh into challenging the results.
But let me just say there. Okay, that was true. The IEC announced, even before IEC announced the results, all the parties and their representatives, including Jammeh, knew the actual figure. And
yes.
He conceded.
Yes.
He said himself
yes.
that he lost by 18,000 votes.
Yes, he in fact corrected.
Now listen,
yes.
listen. He knew and the calculations were all right.
Yes.
The IEC announced a total that is a little different from that.
It's not a little.
No, listen. They said, no, listen. Everything was correct until when they were compiling the last one. Instead of entering the global total, there was a shift. The global total went to Adama. Jammeh went to Kande, and etc. etc. Now, when they said that,
yes.
every human being
yes.
who followed the results yes. went through the results again, and they challenged the IEC and the APRC. No, listen. They challenged the APRC to go back and count.
We're going to drag this. You see, I'm not disputing all that
the
you are
accuracy
saying.
Of the yes.
But the fact of the matter is, yes. election as sensitive as it is,
that's we come to the point.
Have never been in any part of the world.
Yes.
Been how would I put it? You have never had elections approached in that manner.
Yes.
Can you imagine if a similar thing had happened in America
yes.
during Trump's era? Yeah. What would have happened in America?
No, everybody.
So
yes.
that is what put the whole question and gave him the latitude or
the latitude or the excuse
to come and challenge it. And it's politics.
Okay.
You could be wrong and get the right.
But you capitalize on a confusion. You capitalize on a confusion.
But then, at that point, I think the world was ready to push him out.
Right.
Sanctions could have been applied at the UN, and it would work because the whole Senegal would have enforced it.
But Jammeh had survived so many.
Instead of Jammeh.
No. There is a way you can sanction him. Like you can freeze all his international assets. You can stop all. Listen to me. You can stop all ministers from traveling.
But Jammeh had more assets in the country than outside.
No. Listen, there are conditions that the UN can pressurize people. I think approaching. Listen to me. Approaching it in that way, or even bringing judges to try and look at what happened, was safer and more responsible than coming in to fight. And these people were coming in to fight.
Us for years.
Now.
Listen,
what is the feeling that...
But you know what? The years you're talking about, that is what is lasting now for another 10, 15 years. Because France saw the opportunity, Senegal saw the opportunity, because that day, on the 9th, the way he announced it, was the very day, 4 days second, the ambassador of Senegal at the United Nations went to our mission at the United Nations and had a meeting with our ambassador, and they got in touch with Jammeh's ambassadors, and they said, look, this is a by force thing now. This guy has to go. And the story was taken to the Security Council that night to make that declaration on the 10th that he must respect the constitution of the Gambia and step down or else. And it developed from there. And the story started. The story started going around. Now, in the security sector reform, which you guys are talking about, that's when they started telling members of the Security Council, which most of you believe in fact, to some extent, I was even convinced that the army was predominantly Casamas rebels, the police, Casamas rebels, the NIA, Casamas rebels, and literally all key positions are occupied by Jolas and rebels. This is what they sold there. So that is where they conceive the idea of a security sector reform if they come in.
And you believe Senegal is behind all that?
Yes, and France. Because I went to meet all of them.
Senegal.
In fact, Senegal was trying to, because
Senegal.
France needed this country since 1981.
To do what?
When they rescued Jawara in 1981, they stayed. Jawara at some point realized that they wanted to drag Gambia.
The Senegalese stayed or the French? I didn't see any French troops.
The Senegalese in 1981, after they came and
shut up the gendarmerie and stuff.
No. Fought Kukoy out of power, get him out of the country. They brought huge military force in this country. The Confederation later on changed to the Confederation. They brought gendarmerie. They
no, but Sam, you cannot change the fact.
Arrogance. Listen to me.
You cannot change the fact that.
Yes.
Listen, the majority of the Gambian people who voted in that election wanted Jammeh out.
40% of the Gambian people. Say 40% of the Gambian people.
Listen,
don't tell me about majority. There was no majority.
The people who voted. That's what I'm saying.
40% of Gambian.
Listen carefully.
Who voted?
You don't count
Jammeh.
You don't count people who did not vote. You count people who voted.
Yes.
Majority of the people.
Now, even those who voted
now
for
listen.
GDC,
Listen.
for
The majority of the people. The majority of
against
people who voted really voted against Jammeh. That's one.
Yeah.
That you cannot change that fact.
Yes.
You cannot change that fact.
Yes.
Jammeh had a very bad international reputation.
Okay,
that did not help him.
Yes.
That did not help him.
It was an opportunity.
You understand?
Yes.
And the majority of the Gambians at that time
Yes.
wanted Jammeh out.
Yes.
One way or the other. Listen.
Not the majority.
No, listen.
Still.
The majority of the people who voted.
Not the majority.
No. The people who voted is...
Consider there were a lot of those people who did not vote.
No, listen. If you don't count people who don't vote in anywhere, in any estimate, you don't count people who don't. Now listen now. Listen now. Now listen now.
Because they exist.
Now listen.
Don't
the majority of
that.
I'm telling you now that the scenario is this.
Yes.
Jammeh was not only a hated figure for Gambians. His international reputation was very bad. Yes. I agree with you. That did not help.
Yes.
The Senegalese had an interest in his departure. I agree with that.
Before his departure.
Well before even December elections.
Well before his
I agree. He never agreed with successive regimes. That is true.
Yes.
That's very true. But now come back to the Gambia. I'm telling you at the time, the majority of the Gambians wanted Jammeh back out of power.
Who voted?
Who voted. That's what they wanted. Yeah. And now, they understood that Jammeh doesn't understand any language but violence. He has demonstrated that so many times. Listen, so that is why economic intervention was very much welcomed by the majority of the people in the Gambia at the time. You cannot change that fact. No, what I agree with you is, do we still need them here up to now?
All right,
that is unjustifiable.
Right, listen to
but
me.
To say that it was not justifiable for them to come,
yes,
you will not agree with a lot of people.
Do you know why I am arguing this point?
Yeah.
Is that they did not exhaust all measures of getting him out before they resort to military intervention.
Maybe they did not.
Listen, military. No, that was day one.
Maybe they didn't even intend to fight him. They intended just to threaten him.
All right, then the purpose was
probably they knew that.
Listen,
he was he was somebody who understands only violence.
But then
let's now pretend that we will fight him.
Okay, then the objective was achieved when he left.
Exactly.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
But Njai,
why are they still here?
Listen to Njai, the commander.
Yeah.
He said that the orders they had was to raise the country to the ground.
No, I remember listening. He said, "We will go to State House. We'll get him. We're not going to fight the barracks. We are going to get him. We will fight if you stop in our way."
You know that is the stupidest military operation any general will tell you. It doesn't work that way. That's the dumbest. That's why I say he was one of the dumbest.
They said they were not going to shoot the targets, the barracks.
That's a joke.
They were going to State House.
That is a
it's
joke.
only when you stand in their way that they will get.
That is a dumb soldier talking to you. That's a dumb military officer talking to you.
Okay, now.
Look at what happened in Iraq. Look at what happened in Libya. Okay. Everybody thought that these were quick fixes. They are dragging for 10 years. The militia took over. 1981, we did not have a regular army. They came here. The ordinary Gambians took weapons and fought like dogs in the streets. You know, so what I'm trying to tell you, listen,
I want us to focus.
Let me complete my sentence.
Let me just complete.
Unintended consequence of war.
I want us to make progress.
Unintended consequence of war.
I want us to make progress. You know, I mean, everybody, you will disagree with most Gambians if you said in the first place ECOMOG was not needed.
Yes.
You will not agree with Gambians.
Because the basis on which they sold it was wrong.
Okay.
There were no MFDC rebels.
That's I understand.
That is why security sector reform cannot happen.
Okay.
Because they
Let's
came
go into
in
Let's go into that now. Let's go into that now. Why do you think they are still here?
Yeah, because...
And the government is still telling us, listen, that they are needed. Even though we all agreed that they were needed in day one. But today, majority of the Gambians felt that they should not be here.
Yeah, they should
so
not.
let's enlighten us now. Enlighten us now. Why do you think the government is still saying they are here?
As much as we thought they were here purposely to help the Gambians because they love us, wanted to restore democracy like the Americans were saying in Iraq and Libya, that's not the fact. The fact was these people saw a golden opportunity to achieve what they have been planning for decades in the Gambia.
The Senegalese.
The Senegalese and the French.
Okay.
What was that?
Controlling the Gambia into the Francophone zone and making sure that they will never lose it again.
Okay.
And
So
this is what is evolving. Because we all know that the MFDC is not in the army. How are you going to reform? In 1981, we had a major security sector reform, you remember? Because the field force was blamed for not being a professional army.
For backing the coup.
It was disintegrated. The Senegalese came to establish a new professional army. But along the lines, when Jawara saw the hidden objective of Senegal, of dragging us into the Francophone zone and being loyal to France, Jawara wriggled out of the whole thing. And when it came to, in the end, Abdou Diouf realized that Jawara was not going to cooperate.
He withdrew troops.
When Mauritania had their crisis, they wanted us. I was in the Confederation. They gave us our orders. We stood by. We were going to be deployed at the Mauritanian
You were going to defend Senegal
to go and fight with Senegal. You know, while we were waiting for deployment, we got a call from the army camp that Jawara said, we are not going to fight Senegal's fight. War. Get your stand down. We moved all our, we took our things and put them aside. And the next thing was, listen, that was a hit to Abdou Diouf. The next thing was, Jawara wrote to Senegal, Abdou Diouf, and said, let's rotate the presidential agreement, which was to give Senegal the permanent presidency, while Gambia took the vice presidency. And that is what, you know, like broke the camel's back. They said, no way. They withdrew unilaterally. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that Senegal has come back with the same thing.
Approach, okay.
The same mentality. They found in Barrow what they had not found in Cham or Jawara.
Okay.
And it looks like Barrow is going to deliver it to them. Because I don't think Barrow is even reading the fine prints on what he is signing.
I agree.
And listen,
I understand your point.
Let me done with one more standard. Jawara's days, the Confederation, it was signed by two governments with their parliaments, their lawmakers involved, ratified. But nobody in this country knows what Adama Barrow signed with Macky Sall. And, you know, people are not pushing for that. The day I see that, I will prove to you
so now,
that there is something beyond what we are looking at.
What the newest angle that Sam is talking about is this. I mean, he wouldn't, of course, like I said, not many people agree with him that there was no need for ECOMOG. But he's trying to say that the bigger picture is Senegal is playing their own national interest, which is to dominate the Gambia in one way or the other. And that's the kind of game they played within the ECOMOG framework. He feared and compared it to the 1980s when Jawara and Abdou Diouf were in the same position. Eventually, they could not cope and they had to break all military or defense agreement. Did you see in this arrangement, like he said, a ploy by Senegal to control the country, either controlling our security, like they allow the Senegalese are guarding the president, they are guarding State House, they have troops in Fogny and other places.
Well, of course, there is absolutely no doubt that Senegal is here to protect its own interests. We all knew that, during the Yaya Jammeh time, Senegal had a big problem with the government of the Gambia, particularly with regards to the war in Casamance. We knew that Yaya Jammeh was blatantly supporting the rebels, and he was supplying them with a lot of, ammunition and food and all.
But Senegal suspected
So
that.
no, I mean everybody knew that. Even Sam, I'm sure.
Sam said there was no proof of that. Sam was in the army.
Of course, that was quite obvious to everybody in this country that Jammeh was very sympathetic to the rebels in Casamas, and he was supporting them. I mean, logistically and militarily as well.
That's what Senegal
but
believed.
Senegal had definitely an interest in seeing Jammeh out because
yes.
there's
no doubt about
that was in their interest.
Yeah.
And when they are here in the Gambia also, there are certain aspects of their interest they are interested in, and their being here is helping them probably in controlling those things. For example, I mean they have accused the Gambia of depleting the forest in the Casamas, and probably being here, they will be in a better position to monitor what is going on.
But is that not interfering in our sovereignty? Is that not interfering in our sovereignty?
No, I mean, I'm not saying that they are doing, activity that would stop the thing, but at least they would be able to monitor what is going on and then report back to their government so that they can put things in measure, in their own country to see how best they can be able to, stop that kind of
But that violates
trafficking.
our countries for sovereignty.
No, I mean, if they stop Gambians in the Casamas from, depleting their forests, that is not violating our sovereignty, but they are protecting their own interests as well.
It is not Gambians who do that, Jawo. It's the Senegalese. I mean, the ultimate objective of the Senegalese authorities is that they think that those woods have been sold by Casamas rebels to get funding.
Yeah,
but
they
so
sell
it's
it
not
to
Gambians who are depleting. It's
still
Senegalese who are selling.
But
they don't want it to come here because they cannot sell it in Senegal without coming here. So they don't want it to come here. So they must be here to stop it.
Freddie Tendeng made a documentary.
I'm not saying that they are
that's the
actually
point
here
now.
to stop
Now that's the
that.
point. How do we now dissect Senegal's interest from our own overall need for stability, by the presence of foreign troops?
Well, I mean, it's up to the government now, to know actually what Gambian interests are, and stand to it, and also do whatever they could to be able to respect and defend our own interests.
Sam has a point there, Freddie, when he said, well, perhaps, the government is using the whole the presence of the international troops, to masquerade Senegalese, national interest in dominating us. They guard the president. They have troops at strategic places in our country, like Fonyi, etc. And then we are virtually a colony, or rather another region. They call it 15th region. The opposition said the 15th region of Senegal. You believe that?
Well, the way things are going, people might want to believe that, or it's leading them to believe that insinuation. But then again, and of course, telling us that you want to extend their mandate, and at the end of that extension, you want to transform them. Is that the right word?
To a police force.
Exact, to a police force. Or whatever.
Predominantly francophone countries.
Exactly. So definitely, people that are thinking that, they have a right to think that with all these developments coming here. You've said you've contacted and say it's a proposal. Yeah, it's a proposal. If it was stamped and sealed on that day and say yes, approve or whatever, it will be implemented. That's what they want.
The defense minister said they were just proposals. But then of course it is the government of the Gambia who requested for it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
when
they
it
want.
comes to the defense minister and certain people in the system, those people are in for whatever Senegal says. And there are Gambians who are thinking the same way, that we deserve to surrender all our sovereignty to Senegal, that we are safer under Senegal's control than being independent on our own. There are Gambians, I'm telling you, ministers and senior civil servants who are thinking like that, and they are there. I have heard them talking about that. So now, if it comes to where we are split, how would I put it? We are different on that objective. Why don't we put it to a vote? Those who want Gambia to surrender their sovereignty to Senegal say yes, and those who want our independence,
I think there should be a non-starter.
Sam, I don't think there's.
I think there should be a non-starter.
Sam, I don't think there is even any number of Gambians who will even think along that line.
It's in the government circle.
Now listen now, Jawo, what do you say?
It's in the government circle.
All right, much as majority of the Gambians don't like Jammeh. Yeah, we know that the majority of the Gambians don't like Jammeh in power. But then they don't equally like Senegalese domination.
Absolutely.
You know what?
I don't agree with Sam that there are even senior government.
Who might be
yes, they are there. They are there, and some of them are just ignorant. Because you know what? Most of them were not looking at the possibility of this situation tomorrow.
One thing can be correct.
And they were celebrating something that they had entered into without questioning.
One thing can be correct. Gambian officials, especially these people you're talking about, might be whining and dining and dancing with Senegal. When it comes to removing Gambia on that aspect, they have a common enemy that we can get. But then after that, they want Senegal to stop at where they should stop.
Listen, this is what happened.
I don't believe that anybody in the Gambia government would like to.
You know what? After 1981, after 1981, it was a similar scenario. Especially the executive. Jawara's security was basically in the hands of Senegal. All his guards, escort, everything.
All of you are getting those fat salaries from
the
Confederation.
No, what I'm telling you,
You guys enjoyed in the Confederation. You didn't raise any issue about the Confederal Army or about its implications in eroding our sovereignty.
Yes, I know. At that time, I was in the Confederation.
Yeah, you enjoyed flight allowances.
But outside
when you wounded yourself accidentally, you were flown to Dakar and patched up. There wasn't any problem at that time.
No. You see, listen, you are driving back to judge me by the way I used to think about 25 years ago.
Oh, now you have come of age. Or you've seen the bigger
Come on. That is wrong.
Okay, that's
true. You know, the people who agreed about invading Iraq today sit down and say it was a big mistake, including, you know, all these big shots. Even George Bush said, had I known.
Had I known, yes.
Barack Obama said, had I known, I would not have touched Libya. I
Tony
have
Blair.
evolved from that mentality over time. I have seen a world that has, you know, grown different from what I used to know. My understanding of even Senegalese independence has changed because I did not at that time know that the way I know how France controls Senegal is different.
I see.
You know, and not only Senegal, but to Francophone countries. Their loyalty to France is what I don't understand. This is a universal African thing now where intellectuals and activists are saying, let France get its knee off the neck of Africa because of the exploitation, the degradation that has never changed since we acquired our independence. Now, coming back to this issue, we know that Jawara depended entirely on Senegalese after the coup in 1981, and he loved their presence, escorted everybody, got everything. But at some point, Jawara realized that if he had to continue with this, with Senegal, he was going to lose elections. That is why he started walking back from the whole agreement, slowly but surely and tactically. I don't think Adam Barrow knows that.
That's another thing.
I don't think, and Jawara had something to hold on to, you know, but I don't think Adam Barrow had anything to hold on to if Senegal walk away from him.
I see.
I don't think so. And so his best bet is to reinforce their existence every day and make sure they take him to the next 15 years. The Marawuts has prophesied that he's going to rule this Gambia. So this is the way I look at it. So, you know, we were all excited. You were all excited about it. I was the, you know, hey, Sarr is the fool, Sarr. But now I see a lot of people say, hey, Sarr, we know what you're talking about. We know that what you are saying now was beyond our understanding.
Our understanding at the time.
Yeah, but this is the reality.
So, but now what do we do now?
What do we do now?
Jawara realized at the time.
I think we should come together and sue the Adam Barrow government and say, we don't need economic, we don't need these police forces. You know, if they need policing, let them go to Ivory Coast. It's the most chaotic country. They have flouted all their constitutional agreements, including Guinea-Conakry. They've killed people, extended their 3 terms of...
they changed the constitution.
Yes. And now, if you want to really respect enforcing sub-regional constitutions, why didn't you do that on those people?
Because we have a smaller army, perhaps, or we are smaller. Because even
we are
the small boys. Even in this intervention with economic in the Gambia, it was most experts said if this was a big army like Guinea, they would not think about it.
You dare not.
That's true.
It should have been an internal. I think Gambia was ready to defy the system. Like, look at what happened in Myanmar today. Myanmar. The whole world knows that Myanmar has gone into a coup d'etat a couple of days ago, and they had never expected them to do that. No military intervention is going to happen in Myanmar, but the people of Myanmar are going to resist it and change it. If we had been allowed to settle our internal thing,
but it would have been impossible on the Jammeh.
It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have.
I mean, we have seen examples
it
where
wouldn't have.
he used excessive force to quell dissent, or even even legitimate opposition did not exist on the Jammeh without without respect.
It wouldn't have. At the time we were coming to 2016, the world had evolved to a point where Jammeh was even losing, I think, his interest in running the type of system he was running. It was unsustainable. One way or the other, the situations would have caught up with him for him to realize that I can't continue like this, or even the army may rebel against him.
But how long would it have taken for that to happen? How long?
You see,
I mean, Sam, a lot of people would disagree.
Who would have thought?
Jammeh was very strong-willed.
No.
And he was not easy
I know.
All right.
Like in politics,
he nullified the election. It means Jammeh was not willing to go.
Yeah, but then but you know what? The pressure on him.
No, we agreed.
Do you know why? Do you know what I'm telling you? If Jammeh was that enthusiastic as he used to be in the beginning, like when the Edward Singates were there, Sana Sabanis were there, they would not have allowed foreign security guards to come and guard Adama Barrow in the country. They will not have let Adama Barrow leave the country. So many things that he sat back and what happened would not have happened. He would have shut down the ferries and said nobody is going to travel out of this country. But I know Jammeh. I read through him. So Jammeh was no longer interested.
You realized that towards the end of 2016, he was realizing that he was losing the game.
He was no longer enthusiastic. I was here just to watch the scenario after almost 17 years away from the country. I saw Jammeh was not enthusiastic about the whole thing.
So even he was pushed to
this is what I'm trying to tell you.
That was apparent.
A little bit of pressure on Jammeh, he would have walked out.
He would have walked out.
Because you know what? Even the campaign, they will tell you he was not giving them money. He was not funding them. When they went to this North Bank, most of the villages that prepared days to see him, he bypassed them. I remember I was taken to Combo, one village, I don't remember. I was taken there by Baja. I found huge, massive people, the whole country, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Everybody, he's coming, dancing and everything. All of a sudden, everything went down. I said, what is going on? Where's the president? Dignitaries were sitting. Hey, the president said...
He was overconfident that he was going to win. So
no, the president is not coming.
He did not need to push.
It's not coming because Fidel Castro died.
Well, Sam.
So what I'm trying to explain.
Let's go forward and end this conversation.
Let me just want to tell you is that, look, we have to sue this government to stop this mess. These people should not be in this country. 2022, who told them that Gambia needs police, international police from Francophone countries in 2022, as if we are expecting a disaster?
Anyway, Sam.
Are we gonna go there? And and when these people come, you see the very thing that everybody said at TRRC as being the major cause of the coup d'etat in 1994, foreign troops trying to sustain an unsustainable government, turned into a rebellion, is what we are going into again. Foreign troops probably trying to sustain an unsustainable government. And we're talking about never again. Hey, come on, it's already... The need to look at what is going on and say it's already here before we talk about never again.
Most people said if we want to achieve never again, the people who are already there compromised should have been the people who were kicked out. Bingo. You don't want them to go.
Bingo. It starts from there.
Dahaba, you know Dahaba? He was one of Jammeh's greatest, he's
griot. He's official griot.
Now he's Adama Barrow's
official griot.
Thank you.
There are many others who are the same role.
But hey, Dahaba is not paid from the state coffers. Dahaba is a private citizen who does.
Yes, he can do whatever he likes. He can
Dahaba has a choice to do whatever he wants to do.
Ordinary,
but then the people that are paid from our taxpayers, we should be looking at those ones. And those are the ones that contribute in the decisions that happen.
What I'm trying to tell you is that when it comes to politics, there are no friends, there are no enemies.
Okay.
It's interest.
Interest.
People look at and their interest. Whatever interests him. Yes. If he knows, the government knows that your presence in the system will boost their situation or their popularity, they will get you in any way they could.
No matter how compromised.
Well, we are suffering the consequences right now, and thus, you understand, it renders all these commissions that we talk about invest a lot of money in it. It just renders it futile.
And they are all failing.
And they're all failing, exactly.
We now have to talk a little bit about the IEC. I wanted to. And that is we close.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you? Let's start with Jawo and we'll have. Now, you know about the delay in the registration exercise. They still hell-bent on introducing the ballot paper, etc., etc. What do you think, Jawo should do? You wrote a piece
of course, for me, I think I am really not sure that the IEC has what it takes to hold the elections in December.
Wow!
There are a lot of things they need to do, and they have not done anything.
Wow!
I mean, I really wonder what IEC had been doing since 2017. I mean, virtually nothing. I mean, they've been sitting down. They are doing absolutely a lot of things to take care of.
They blamed COVID when there was restrictions. COVID. Even the Nyamina election days, they were waiting for government.
I don't think that is justified. I mean, in the first place, we need to. I mean, there should have been some constituency boundary demarcation because some of the constituencies are so huge. Others like Janjambure, for example, is less than 2,000 voters. I mean, when others have over 40,000 voters. I mean, it doesn't make sense. That is definitely not. IEC should have addressed that a long time ago. We also have the registration of voters. They need to, do. We are also expecting a referendum for whatever. I mean, if the draft constitution is readmitted, and also, the electoral bill is not ready yet. There are so many things, and they are talking about registering the diaspora as well. It is not possible within 10 months to accomplish all this and do them correctly. With regards to, the ballot, the tokens and the paper ballot, I definitely support the paper ballot. Because the Gambia is the only country in the whole world still using marbles to vote. It doesn't make sense. And the logistics of using marbles is just too much. Let's assume that we have 16 parties right now. You have 16 candidates, maybe little constituents. Polling.
What is it?
You have
1,444
ballots all put there. You take an old and an uneducated old lady probably in there. She's confused. She doesn't know where to go and cast a ballot. But in the case of the paper ballot, the box is outside. Everybody is seeing it. All you come is, you drop your. And that is very simple. I think the logistics is impossible for IEC to go ahead if we continue with this.
What do you make finally? What do you make of this? They argue that given the contract for production of election materials, such as the voter's card and the ballot paper you're talking about, should not be given to a local company because local companies normally have political affiliations in their country, so they may leak the data, and this kind of problem occurred in Ghana and other places, they said.
Well, I think, let's leave that to the IEC to determine to the security aspect of, I think because election is very, very sensitive. It's very sensitive, and it needs to be given to somebody who can be able to actually protect, give it a lot of security in that sense. So, and also, the very fact that they are now in this tussle with the GPPA, I think also needs to be looked at. Is it that it's a ploy by members of the government or the government itself to delay the elections unnecessarily using the GPPA, maybe? Or is it that the IEC has not actually, also done what they are supposed to have done,
well, the IEC,
so because it's supposed to have been an independent.
One, they have blamed the government for not cooperating with them because they wanted money to fund this exercise, and it would not come from the Ministry of Finance unless they get clearance from GPPA. They wanted to circumvent that by taking a bank loan which should be guaranteed by the government, and the government did not comply. So they blame the government for the delay.
I think it needs to be looked at because it could be a ploy from the government.
And then because they are now saying they said the government is not cooperative. They made that clear. And two, they don't want to give it to a local company and compromise its integrity because they believe local companies often have political affiliations, whereas the international company, the ESC in Canada, they said they have proven record of really handling these things without any problems. What do you say? You are a stakeholder in CA.
I mean, after listening to both sides, the whole fracas, you know that they all have interests in some way, and they're all trying to hold on and protect their interests somehow to the detriment of us, the citizens and the voters, which is very, very selfish of them. But then again, like Honorable said, the IEC knew that elections will be in 2021. What have they been doing from then until now? Again, they publish an itinerary or a schedule or whatever they will call it of when things are going to happen. But when that happened, sometime last year it happened. But again, that is not even going to hold because the voter registration schedule, which was supposed to be 14th of January, is now postponed. Till when? We don't even know. That affects everybody, especially political parties who are huge stakeholders in this. But then again, I mean, in the absence of transparency, this is all that is happening. And people will tell you, Gambia is such a difficult country to get information, get data, is very, very difficult. Everybody tries to keep things, to hide things. The IEC should be very, very transparent, and they wouldn't have run into this problem because they keep things they've not been saying. They've just been, there was a lot of pressure. They came out and gave a press release, and then that did not even go well with them. They came back with a rejoinder and corrected that press release, you know, because the information they gave was just like a piecemeal. And that should not be the case. And like Honorable say, there's supposed to be an independent body to be able to do things. I'm not saying they're so independent that they just do things, nobody does the checks and balances or whatever, but the interference that they've accepted from the Jammeh era, maybe the Jawara era, I was very, very young then, a baby, exactly, but at least I've lived the Jammeh era. I know how, they've been influenced in their actions or whatever that happened, the dictatorship, they can take that as an excuse, but that needs to change because we say we're in a democracy now. Again, moving along, like everybody said, elections are very, very sensitive, and it should be really treated with a lot of, with great caution and care to make sure, because this is where people's livelihoods are decided upon, and that based on the leader that we elect. But if the processes, you know, if you don't know the rules of the game, how are you going to play the game? You can get in the field and play and get hurt, and later on you complain, and then
Jammeh famously said, "This is not football."
Oh, well, but then it's very important.
Where you can forget about the outcome, even if the referee is wrong.
We know what the rules are. But moving along, I mean, again, all these things are lacking. Now they say we're going to have voter registration, but we don't know when yet. Now, as a political party, Citizens Alliance, we know it's very important. When was the last time we had a voter registration? I learned in 2011. How many years?
General one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, a general one. Yeah, we've been having supplementing. But then again, if you did not register in 2011, you could not even get a voter's card until now. A lot of people are here in the Gambia, they don't have a voter's card because they did not register. Either they were not in the country, they were out studying, whatever, so many reasons or factors to that. Now, IEC has not even embarked on a voter registration sensitization tool. A lot of people want to vote, but they don't even know what is required of them to do it. So as stakeholders, Citizens Alliance, we are taking it upon ourselves to go on a nationwide voter registration sensitization tour to talk to the people. And when we say a tour, it's not only Citizens Alliance members or sympathizers or supporters, it's the whole Gambia.
How is it all going to be? What are you going to tell the people?
Say it again?
How is it all going to be? What are you going to tell the people?
Well, we're going to all the regions and all the constituencies, and we meet people, because again, a lot of people don't even know, me and you know, because we are in the urban area here. Some people don't know there will be a voter registration. Some know, but it's been postponed. They don't even know if it's going to happen again. So it's very important to go to sensitize the people, engage them, you know, for them to know, well, there has not been a date yet, but there will be a date, because we say election is going to, and we all need to try and make sure the election happen in December. In as much as,
and if you
cards are null and void.
Exactly, because a lot of people,
a new one. That should be the job of the eyes.
But if they're not doing it, I think we are also stakeholders as political parties, and we should be able to do that ourselves. We don't have to rely on them.
Once you sensitize them, you told them they need to have a voter's card, that the other one doesn't count now, they must go and register. And finally you tell them, if you register, don't vote for Barrow, vote for Dr.
Oh, not at all. Well, we might, if it's going to work, I personally would do that, because again, why do we have to put our resources, our time, and go to a political party
after they have
and we
told
want to
them
get to State House?
all the importance of acquiring one, they will say, don't vote for them, vote for Dr. Sam,
finally. Okay, I have listened to two issues. The IEC press release was not impressive. Just like the SSR press release, security sector reform press release was not impressive.
Oh, there was one?
Yeah,
that was some time back.
And a submission of a document to say that this is our blueprint, implementable for the next 10 years. Okay, now, I am to some extent, on the side of the government, which perhaps you will not, understand that COVID-19 has really undermined every plan that was envisaged from 2020 to 2021. I think 6 months ago, or even earlier, I wrote a paper saying that COVID-19 could even cause the postponement of the election.
Yeah, you did hint at it.
You remember that?
Yes. That's right.
Because I saw its possibilities. Because one thing, COVID-19 is still, destroying economies, and we have not reached the bottom level yet.
Yeah.
And I was looking at, by December, it will be so bad that resources may not be available, the will, or even the world may not even see us reasonable to conduct it. And it has undermined even the SSR, the security secretary, because they invited experts to come and help them.
Yes.
And when in the wake of the security sector reform, the expert left, and everybody is brain dead. They're waiting for them to come and help them to go further, because nothing was their initiative. All the things were these foreign experts,
directed to them,
which I hate. During Jammeh's time, you hate to hear that. We used to do our own analysis.
Exactly.
When we have problems, we sit down, we create our strategy, we work it out. When we have attacks, we map it out. It has never been like that before. But now, what I would say would probably rescue the nation, rescue the government, and make everybody happy would be perhaps for Adama Barrow to come and tell the Gambians, look, yes, now I have looked at the realities of the world. I wanted to go further with you guys, but the challenges are too huge. What I am telling you is we cannot conduct elections this year because of COVID-19, but I will allow you to do it next year. I am not contesting. I will let you do it, but I will help you raise the funds, create the situation, get the independent electoral commission, which is not going to be suspected of allying to anybody, because we are not sure whether they are for Adam or somebody else. But we can walk towards that, and he walk away. I will recommend him for the Abraham Nobel Peace Prize.
So you are 3 years, Jotna.
Listen.
No, it's not 3 years.
Listen,
this would be about 6 years.
Sam.
6 years. And let him walk away. Because to me,
but didn't he have that opportunity already?
No. Up to that time, the world was normal.
Okay. You said he can use the COVID now to find a cover.
To walk away from this.
To move away from this burden and offloading.
Yeah, I think this is too big for his head.
That would be music to the ears.
But
that would be music to the ears of CA and others.
But you see, I would have agreed with his analysis now if Adam Barrow had done that at the beginning of COVID, or maybe a few months into the COVID. But right now, I don't think anybody will buy into that, because again, we will only believe that it's
the situation is
what I can say.
But he didn't respect any COVID protocols or whatever. Adam Barrow just went for a 30-day tour and then launched the biggest event in the history in 2021.
Finally, what I can tell you
is that will not.
As melodious as that suggestion will be to the ears of CA and others,
Gambians,
Adama is even more determined to forge ahead now
for the 15 years
than ever before. Well, that's about it in the brunch tonight. Thank you very much. Sheriff Samsudin Sarr, a former commander of the armed forces, and author, and I have Naneh Freda Gomez from the CA, the spokesperson, and Demba Jawo, veteran journalist. And before, until a few minutes or so ago, less an hour ago, there was Dr. Bittaye from the Medical and Health, the Ministry of Health. On behalf of all of them, I wish you have a great weekend until we come back your way next week. Goodbye.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
For all your pastry, bakery and quality food, CK Restaurant is the only place to be. We do catering for birthdays, weddings and all related services. We have all kinds of local foods, American, European and even beyond. Come and have a taste of our local juice, ebe and other services. At CK Restaurant, customer satisfaction is our priority.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.